Great, thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone to this week's Practice of Medicine Buddha. Welcome to everyone who's new, welcome to everyone who's returning, and also especially welcome to those of you who've been on retreats with me in North Carolina for the past week and a half. In Durham, we had a wonderful time. Thank you, everyone. Karen, Randa, Sharon, Amanda, Tema, um, the whole crew. We had a lot of fun. I hope you can join us in the fall. I'll be back in November. And yeah, if you joined me this past weekend at the Art of Living in Boone, that was really magical and wonderful. We had a lot of fun practicing with the land. I was able, really for the first time, to introduce the practice of working with mountain spirits. So, which is really powerful. And yeah, we had a great time. So if you were at one of those retreats, please shout out in the chat. And as always, please feel free to check in the chat. I'd love to know how folks are doing as we move into spring, into the equinox. So as we are beginning to transition from the holding of winter into the awakening of spring. We'll be marking that on Saturday here in Atlanta with the practice of Tara. Tara for me is very aligned with the practice and the role of the tradition of Bostara, who is considered the goddess of the spring. And so we'll be doing a lot of work with Tara, the land, heartbreak, awakening. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. Grief journey as well. We've been talking about that. That's going to be wonderful as well. Um, yeah, experiencing the unfolding of the Vajrasattva practice. Yeah, we've chanted Vajrasattva for 3.5 hours together, which is how I learned it. Chanting together in community. You get the mantra down. It was very powerful, you know. So as we're beginning tonight, in terms of practice, I want to add, we're gonna do a, we're gonna try to do a whole bunch of stuff. And as usual, I don't know how we're gonna get there, but we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna start, and we're gonna end up somewhere in the practice. So stay with me, stick with me. But we're going to do some kind of spring awakening practice that I like to do this time of year. Secondly, I want us to do kind of a crossing over practice for those who have recently transitioned. And I know there are a couple of us in the space who have been supporting folks in transition, so we want to kind of lift them up, including Nico, who's a member of our UK community, and some other folks as well. And so when we get to that part, I'll ask you to just kind of put into the chat names of people who have recently transitioned as we offer. And the prayer request, don't put it in the prayer request. Don't put the names in the prayer request. Put it in the chat because it's going to be a live thing happening in the moment. So I just want to see that in the chat. And then we'll get to prayers at some point. I probably will do prayers maybe around the same time we do the transitional practice or the crossing over practice, right? Okay. Yeah, so the past week, we've been talking, and I've been talking about, some of you have joined me in talking about just remembering the practice and the work of remembrance, right? That this is a time of remembering who and what we are, that we are people of the earth, that we're connected to the earth, that we come from cultures, communities, ancient cultures, communities that maintained really close ties with the natural world, with the unseen world, and then systems arose and institutions arose that began to disconnect us this from this wisdom, I would say, and this knowledge. And this moment of systemic collapse, apocalypse, is really about a returning back, a remembering, not just a recalling, but a bringing back together of who we are, and who we were, right? Um, and so for me, the winter has been just this processing and moving through and metabolizing of the things that really get in the way of my remembrance, right? Um, there's this, and my experience has been there being this deeper experience that I've had to really put a lot of effort into, like digging through and digging beneath and touching into, right? Um, and it feels like what's being mined is a kind of confidence, and a kind of faith as well. Um, that confidence is so important. We've been talking about confidence a lot in terms of like needing the confidence in order to choose liberation, right? Like you have to believe that you are already free and you're trying to remember that freedom, or you need to believe that you deserve to be free again, right? You deserve to be free from the suffering, from the trauma, from the confusion, right? Without the confidence, there's not much that can happen on this path. Like the confidence, the audacity is another word. The audacity to choose freedom, to remember ultimately what we are, relatively who we are, um, that no one can make this choice for us, right? And this is part of what we're trying to remember. We're trying to remember our agency here, right? Um, this kind of remembering is the hardest work that we can do, right? Um, because so much of this remembering is training and cutting through the illusion of things, particularly cutting through or at least holding the illusion of self or ego, right? The sense of I that always kind of gets in the way, you know? The sense of I, me. We all have a very bad case of the me's. What about me? You and we're trying to remember that we're actually not these egos, this illusionary sense of self, right? That we're not the contraction or the rigidity which the self represents, but instead we are the space, right? We are the space. So even just saying that to yourself, I am not the rigidity or the contraction, right? I am the space. I am movement. I am fluidity, right? So, one of my favorite practices during this period of transitioning into spring as well as getting into spring is, just imagining ourselves to be a closed flower and then we awaken, we bloom, right? We did this in Durham, right? We bloom, right? It's one of my favorite practices, right? Because I really connect to that sense of opening, expanding, right? The flower opens to the fresh air, the sun, the nourishing rains, right? Opening in the sense of safety and confidence. And that opening is it's beautiful, right? The opening is beautiful, right? And therefore you're beautiful, right? You are inherently beautiful. All beings are inherently beautiful. All beings are inherently sacred, right? In Tantric Buddhism, right, everything arises out of emptiness because of that fact within this tradition. Everything is sacred because emptiness is sacred. Emptiness in other language is is God, you know, that God not as a person but as a state of being, a liberated, awakened state of being, right? So when we feel ourselves opening as flowers, we're opening into this truth that we are free, that we are brilliant, that we are beautiful, that we shine, right? To trust the blooming, right? And it's hard, right? It's we're called to bloom like beautiful flowers in a moment that feels so um, depleted, right? There's so much depletion, right? It's lean. It's a lean moment right now, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't still abundance, right? There's still abundance, but we have to dig and open a lot wider to connect to that abundance. All right, or we have to like transcend the level, or we have to dig deeper, however you want to think about it. But like there has to be a little more effort now to connect to the abundance because it's easy to be consumed, right, by the depletion, right? One of my favorite exclamations from Andre Leon Talley, which I think I showed last year in the Five Buddha Families course, where he's like sitting at the Vogue, or in his dialect, Vogue. But, so he's sitting like in a meeting at Vogue with Vera Wang actually sitting right beside him. If you don't know who Vera Wang, she's lovely, lovely designer. And he goes, "There's a famine of beauty. Like my eyes are hurting. There's a famine of beauty right now, right?" And I love that. Like there's a famine of beauty, and it feels like we can buy into the illusion of famine, a lack of, right? And when in fact there's such an abundance, there is always an abundance. Again, because why? Because everything arises from emptiness. Because everything arises from emptiness. Everything is inherently free. Everything is inherently fluid. The problem is the thoughts that limits our experience of abundance. Right? The thoughts. And the thought often begins with I am. I am being a phrase that will always limit us. I am, right? But instead, yes, there are experiences. Like there are things rising and falling. There are things coming about and things going back. Everything's in motion. Everything's fluid, right? Everything's impermanent. To reconnect to that reflection, right, begins to invite us back into a felt sense of abundance, right? And also, this sense or this misunderstanding of depletion may also be a sign really encouraging us to change. That there's something that we're holding on to that needs to be offered up, right? Something that gets in the way, right? In this practice, we're the ones in our way, right? And you name that, right? The resistance, the aversion, the misunderstanding, right? To name that, to hold all of this, and to expand through these limitations. We are unlimited, right? We are not limited, we are unlimited, okay? So, a famine of beauty. Mm-hmm. Um, And again, once we get to this part in the practice, I'll ask you to just put the names back in. I'll do my best to read them in the ceremony. I don't know what to do when I get there because I'm not there yet. So I can't, it's just very spontaneous in my world. Um, so when we get there, I'll let you know, right? On a side note, anyone watch the Oscars last night? Right? Why would you? Because it's just like propaganda. But like also, like, did you see the Center's performance? Anyone? Oh my God! Like, yeah, I couldn't even hold the energy that I was feeling. I couldn't, like, I can barely watch it. Right? Like, I was so activated watching that. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't, do people get what's happening? Do people get what this film is doing? Right? And the intention in this film, like, it's so subversive, but it's also very much in your face if you know how to, if you know what you're looking at. And, if you know what you're looking at, you're like, oh my God, how did this end up on TV? In this moment of so much like censorship, right? But I don't want to get too far off on it, but like also that has always been the nature of black art and black magic, you know, or black magical arts, black people and magic in America, also in the Caribbean, and so forth, South America, but particularly here in America, which is my experience as a black American. Like this has always been how we have practiced. Like our practices have been in your face. You just don't get it. Anti-blackness creates a kind of invisibility. And quite frankly, I enjoy that invisibility sometimes because I can get in and out of places and do shit and people don't even get it. You know? Like that kind of anti-blackness works for me because like you're not actually guarded in a way, you know. Um just like the movie, but just like last night, with the musical performance, it's like you don't understand that was like very, very powerful magic that was happening on that stage, right? And if you haven't seen the movie, if you saw that, I think people who've never seen the movie, they may look at that performance and say this is random, but like that's exactly from the movie. Like they recreated like that scene from the movie. So you have to go back and watch the movie to understand why like all of these characters were doing that. Why you had, ballerinas and hip hop performers and like traditional African dancers and Chinese dancers, right? All coming together, singing the blues. Like you have to, that's probably one of the most like powerful scenes in the movie, right? And it's a lot of them. Like there's a lot of movies that there are just scenes that hit me, but that one took me to another world. It was very much, it was close to, but not exactly, close to that scene in The Color Purple where Suge Knight starts singing and walking up to the church, God's trying to tell you something. Like it has that same power, but I don't think Sinners, that scene could ever be recreated like that scene in Color Purple has often been trying to be recreated, mostly by Tyler Perry. Right? And if you know Tyler Perry, if you're in this space, Tyler Perry, I love you. Like, don't ever think that was shade. You know, you have to be careful this year. I just don't know who's in these spaces anymore. So I have to keep my criticism in check. You know, in case I need money from you, and then that'll be awkward. But support your local Black Dharma teachers, by the way. So anywho, yeah, I don't know, I just felt moved to talk about that, right? It's just like it's easy to feel like nothing's working out right now, that like we're being so suppressed and silenced until you see something like that on TV and you're like, oh no, like we're cutting through. if that made it to a live broadcast like we are doing, and that's always how Black people have practiced freedom, right? You think it's just a little performance, but we're practicing this incredible embodiment, awakening, movement. We're opening portals. We're dancing with the ancestors. We're calling in the descendants. Like we do this all the time in practice. Dance with the ancestors, call in the descendants. Come to this moment because everything is non-linear, right? That there's no such thing as linearism in our practice. Like everything is happening all together all at once, right? But we organize this in our mind so it makes sense. But it's really the ego who has to organize things in a linear way because that's how the ego maintains order. The ego can only survive through order, through separation, through control. This is me and this is the world. Like there has to be a clear difference, right? There has to be a deep, a really like logical understanding of things. This is this is that. When things start getting confused, then the ego is in flux, right? Things that the change, the impermanence is really destabilizing, and that's really uncomfortable. And this is where part of where grief comes from, right? Grief is like this felt sense that there is disruption, right? And we're trying to figure out who we are because something or someone that we've used to create a sense of self and other has shifted. And then if that thing or person shifts, then who am I? And there's this intense discomfort, right? Which I think is the experience of grief. Who am I? Right. So anyway, listen, this is not a matrix moment, but I really haven't talked about centers at all. But I'm feeling compelled to do. I literally could not catch my breath last night watching clips. I could not. I was like, I had to like go outside, right? As someone extremely sensitive to work like this, I was like, ooh, right? And to be physically in that space, I wonder what that would have been like as well. All right. So let's do it. So, let's do, I have nothing figured out. So, I've been running my mouth and not thinking about the practice. But listen, we're just going to do it. And we're going to start first with lighting practice candles. Now, if you do work at home, practices, any like magic work, root work, anything like that, we start with the candle. The candle opens, clarifies, clears, right? And the energy of fire, right? The energy of transformation, transmutation, but also the the way fire helps us to communicate across the realms, right? We light our candles for fire to do all of this. And for me, when I practice, I want all the elements represented, right? So fire and water, earth. Have some earth here, air, which is always present, right? But I light this candle on behalf of all of us, right? And I pray for our clarity. I pray for light in this world. I pray that we remember that we are the light. We are the light of the world. And as we are moving towards the equinox, and at the same time moving towards Mercury going direct, it's time for that girl to go direct and away from me. But as we go direct, with Mercury and equinox and lots of other astrological stuff, right? The light's returning to the world. So the equinox is the balance of light and dark, right? And it's like light and dark meet in the middle. They hug, they kiss. Light thanks the darkness for its work, and then light takes us into the light part of the year, through the spring, through the summer, as I like to think, as darkness rests and prepares to return to offer its medicine, right, at the end of the year. So we call light back into the world, and may we be guided by the light, by the clarity, by the wisdom of illumination. And I invite you just to begin to feel the energy of light, this awakening of the flame within your own body, beginning with your heart center, feeling this flame awakening right in your heart center. And just in my practice now, like as I'm holding this light and I close my eyes, it's almost as if I can see and feel the light, right? And think of this sensory experience of light as the brilliance of your own mind, the light, the clarity, directness of your mind. And feeling the light, the warmth radiating through your body. Because this is the fire element in our bodies, rooted, I believe, within the third chakra, the solar plexus, right, in our gut. Knowing that the heat of our digestion is the fire element. This connects me to the sun, right? The source of light and heat in this galaxy, the solar system. And sometimes I just sit and rest right in this experience of light, especially in deep grieving. Right? I return to the light like this, and I can feel the light holding me. And we can offer prayers to the deities and the spirits and the very consciousness of this light and this fire itself. That we greet the light and the fire by simply acknowledging that we come with the deepest intentions to be of benefit, to get free, only to help others get free, not just to get free for ourselves, but on behalf of others. We enter into this sacred practice with collective liberation on our minds. And we get free through the light, through the clarity, and we can feel the seat rising to hold us. We can connect to the land that is holding us, that's nurturing and tethering us. But from our heart centers, just returning our attention to our heart centers, I invite you to imagine that your heart centers begins to radiate even more intensely, as if the sun is awakening in your heart center, right? And this brilliant light begins to send these rays and beams of light into the space around you. And this light begins to call in all the beings from this universe and beyond who love us, who want us to be free, all of our benefactors, all of our teachers, guides, elders, all of the deities, the Buddhas, all the communities that love us, our benevolent ancestors, our lineages, all these beings who taught us how to be free, right? Who've taught us how to love. We call those beings to be with us, and they are beings of light. They bring this warmth, they bring this clarity into the space. And I invite you just to feel this, to open to this truth that you are surrounded by these beings of love, of deep care, all directed and offered to you. And as your benefactors are showing up, they're also radiating this energy of care and love as light back to you. So like imagine that it's just getting really bright, right? Around you and within you. As if you're just sitting within this radiance that you're glowing, they're glowing, everything's glowing, radiating. And so when you're ready, we're going to turn our attention to our opening mantra, Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. Medicine Buddha, please think of me. All right, and we are in this mantra beginning to awaken, to invite the consciousness, the blessing of Medicine Buddha. Medicine Buddha who represents this lineage of healing. But what we understand in this lineage is that healing is also about getting free, that we're healing our misunderstanding, right? And awakening to the truth of things ultimately, right? Of course, relatively, right? We're healing physically, emotionally, right? Mentally, right? But ultimately, that healing is about getting clear about what we are. So we call in Medicine Buddha, right? Please think of me. Please see me. Please hold me. To feel the energy of this mantra as a supplication to be held by the great healer, to be held. As we're being held by the light, we imagine that it is Medicine Buddha arising within this light that's holding us, right? That this brilliance, this fire is nothing but the awakened mind of Medicine Buddha. So So we turn our attention to the mantra beginning with Om, and then chanting the mantra 3 times, and then ending with another Om. All right? We'll begin. Om la zange hi no so Om la zange hi no so Om la zange hi no so And just like that, this radiance, this light becomes an expression of the great healer, the great medicine holder. We just allow ourselves to sit within the brilliance of this awakened consciousness mind of the great healing Buddha. And let yourself be held. Let yourself radiate. Let this light remind you of your beauty. And from here, we turn our attention to the main mantra, Tea Taum Bekenze, Ma Bekenze, Rasa Sumungate Soha. Right, and as we begin to chant, just allow the consciousness, this awakened mind of medicine Buddha, to just tend to you. Let it tend to you. Right? And to the light, right? You can also, in the practice, just offer or open. Well, you can do 2 things. Imagining offering into the light, this brilliance, what you're struggling to hold for yourself. Wherever anxiety, fear, hopelessness, imagine that you're just offering this as if you're offering something to a fire. And secondly, you can just imagine too that the things that we're struggling with, that you allow the light of this practice to stream into those places that may feel dark or desolate or isolated. Allow yourself to relax, really, and just let the practice do the work for you as we begin. Okay? O te anda begenze, ma begenze, Raza sumungatis oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Raza sumungatis oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa de anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa de anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa de anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda begenze begenze ma begenze Ranzen sumun gaudes oa te anda Deyanda umbegenze begenze ma begenze ranzumunga dezuha 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 deyanda umbegenze begenze ma begenze ranzumunga dezuha. Now I want to just take this moment to begin to transition into a crossing over ritual. Right? And so we start where we're at, remaining in this practice of this radiance of light, this light being the very consciousness of Medicine Buddha, being held by all of the benefactors around the universe, from across the universe and beyond. And so, within just kind of our minds, we begin to call into the space those beings who have transitioned recently, and also beings who we are connected to who are beginning to transition back into spirit. Those who recently passed, those who are preparing to pass. They can be beings who you are connected to, who you know, or beings that you don't know. Either is fine, but we call these beings into the space. And beginning to also go ahead and put those names in the chat as we begin. Right. So calling into the space, Ricky Joyner, Frankie, Earl, Phoebe, Peter, Bob, Barbara, David, Donna, Karina, Johnny, Anthony, William Lee Boyd, G. Bob, Andy Wong, Anthony, Isha Garbez, Reverend Alonzo, James Smalls, William Pleasant, Jeanette, Travis, Richard Parker, Amanda, June, Sharon, Khan, Joy, Adelaida, Leah, Nayeda, Pine, Alma, Asario, Alejandro, Asario, Paul, Stratton, Nim, Hannah, Amberdawn McGee, Dry, Charlie Hitchens, Tanya, Damian, Stephen, Barat Das, Baines, Sylvester, Kits, Ralph, Pauline Stad, Maria Irving, Nana Flora, Doug, Khalifa, Laura. I'll call into the space, dear Nico, my student, a member of this community, and Melvin, military servicemen, Ivan, Doug, Danielle, the young people from the accident last week. And I'll call into the space as well all the unknown spirits, all the spirits who died without proper transitional ritual. I call into this space to be with me. Who gets Beatrice's father, the Iranian school children. And as all of these beings, these spirits, and those who are preparing to transition gather, I first want to offer water. We offer water to ground, to nourish, but we also offer water to open the gates, the portals into the next world. And I pray to the spirits and the deities of the water that you nourish all of those and these beloveds who are close to us, those who we learn about transitioning in other countries from war, from famine, from any natural or unnatural cause. We offer this water to you, these spirits, those who are preparing to transition, that you may be nourished, that you may be grounded, that you may be washed clean. And as I pour, join me in imagining that this water begins to cleanse all of these beings of the suffering, the trauma, the PTSD, everything that feels as if is keeping them weighed or too tethered to this world. May all of this be alleviated. May all of this be cleansed. And as I offer this water, I'll be chanting the Vajrasattva mantra 3 times. It's okay if you don't know it. If you know it, you can chant it along with me as I pour. But what's most important that we remember that this water is an offering to wash away, to remove everything that's in the way of these precious ones transitioning on to the next world. We begin. Om Inzazata Samaya Anupalaya Inzazata Tinapa Tishajidu Mebawa Sutukaya Mebawa Supukaya Mebawa Anuraktu Mebawa Sada Siddhi Mekraya Sada Kama Siksam Me Siksam Shriya Puru Hum Ha 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 Ho Ragawan Sada Tata Yata Binza Mame Musa Binza Bawa Maha Samaya Sato Om Binza Sato Samaya Manupalaya Binza Sato Tinapa Tishajidu Mebawa Sutukaya Mebawa Supukaya Mebawa Anuraktu Mebawa Sada Siddhi Mekraya Sada Kama Siksam Me Siksam Shriyam Kuru Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sada Tata Yata Binza Mame Musa Binza Bawa Maha Samaya Sato Om Binza Sato Samaya Manupalaya Binza satatena pati satridu mevawa, sutukaya mevawa, sutukaya mevawa, anuraktu mevawa, sarasidi meprayasa, sarakama siksame, siktam shriyam kuhu, ha 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 ha, ho lagawan, saratata gata binza mame muza bindra bawa maha samaya sato. And with this offering, all of these precious beings are freed from the karma that binds them to this world and are ready to transition. And I call also on the sacred herb of rosemary, praying to the spirit of rosemary that she opens this way, clears this way as these precious ones begin to make their journey back. As I offer this, I'm going to actually offer Tara's mantra, just the opening mantra, Om Matara Soha. We pray to the Great Mother, who is the embodiment of all the mothers, as she guides our precious ones back to their homes so that they may continue their work of getting free. May she guide these beings also back to the feet, to the company of all the ancestors. Om Mantara Soha. Om Mantara Soha. Om Mantara Soha. Om. And may it be so that those who were once bound are freed, are released. And may you return freely back to the realm of the spirits. May it be so. And so now turning our attention to the prayer requests. And again, calling the attention of all of our benefactors, all of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dharma protectors, Yidams, all benevolent ancestors, to all the beings of light and love, to all the elements and the guardians and protectors of the elements. We offer these prayers to you, and we pray that you work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of these prayers and also empower us to bring about the fruition of these prayers as well in a manner that is appropriate to us. May this be so. And so we offer prayers for my family, G&M, to continue to be safe and healthy in these challenging times. May all beings be happy and free. We offer prayers that I'm able to overcome my anxiety and depression and stay grounded in my body. Prayers that I release resistance and embrace trust. Prayers that all may be safe and have what we need. Prayers to remove all obstacles in my path, to be free from old patterns and to have the space for new growth. Prayers for my son to find growth and peace in his troubled mind. Prayers for me to be at peace despite the chaos in my home and the world at large. Prayers to hear the beautiful music of life. Prayers for my grandfather who just passed, for the end of his suffering, for his liberation. Prayers for those who dwell in the illusion that war brings peace. Prayers for Yisha Garbez and Gloria R. as they pass through the bardo, and that Yisha's art can be preserved and shared. Prayers for my children to find a path to freedom from transphobia in this country. Prayers for successful surgery for LB tomorrow and a full recovery. Prayers for Anna M and her ongoing treatment for metastatic melanoma. May her body and heart find deep rest and healing. Prayers for all beings in chronic pain and discomfort. Experience relief as soon as possible. Prayers that I may be on the path of job and home security. Prayers for confidence to return to the foreground, anxiety to move to the background so that peace and joy have their rightful space. Continued prayers that I find well-paying work that supports me as I move through chaplaincy school. Prayers for fortification and support for all loving spiritual teachers trying to reach suffering beings in this time, that these teachers are fully provided for as they can continue their work. Prayers for blessings for Lama Rod and prayers for his liberation ASAP. Prayers for finding sustainable and peaceful ways of sustaining myself in this world. Prayers for protection from punitive carceral systems and for peace and presence in these moments of waiting and worrying. Prayers for balance in the work and the world. Ashayo. Prayers for continued healing, for clarity around what I need to do to facilitate it. Prayers for M's body to be free of any and all disease. Prayers for N's eye to heal completely. Prayers for my sweet husband to be healed in body, spirit, and mind. May he also be free from the ways the burdens capitalism weigh on him. Prayers for joy and lightness in the world in this hard and heavy time. Prayers for new and deeper emotional intimacy and genuine connection with local individual people and community. Prayers for S's Baba for a full recovery after emergency surgery. May all beings be free ASAP. And prayers for Brian as he enters the Bardo. He was my best friend and center of a whole community of creative weirdos from LA to San Francisco. Prayers for R and her month in silence and rituals. Prayers for the people of Cuba. Prayers for myself, Susan, Melissa, Judith, Joy, and Kathy. Prayers for N and R to be healthy, safe, well, and free. Prayers as I continue to navigate health issues as a path of practice. Prayers for Cynthia. Prayers for guidance and protection from our circles of care, that we may walk a path of hearts. Prayers of gratitude and thanksgiving for all the ways in which we receive blessings. May they support us in the being of benefit to others. Prayers for B, who is hospitalized and seeking residential rehab post-discharge. Prayers for our broken hearts. Prayers for myself to heal from my depression, anxiety, and addiction. Prayers for clarity, energy, motivation, nourishment, work, resourcing. And please, please, please let me sleep and get my body regulated. Prayers for my Muslim friends, that they may be especially comforted. Prayers for my mom, Michelle, that she heals and lives a long life. Prayers for E, who has transitioned to the Bardo, for his partner, friends, and communities. Prayers for myself as I grieve. Prayers for Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, Sudan, the Congo, Ukraine, gender diverse folks, and anyone experiencing violence and oppression. Prayers for my partner and family as he navigates aging and arriving to the age his father was when diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Prayers for Kate in her healing and recovery journey. Prayers for E as she continues cancer treatment. May she be blessed with complete health and remission. Prayers for me in my recovery from physical and mental health challenges. Prayers of gratitude for my dad who died 14 years ago. May I embody his bright and playful nature. Prayers for all beings who suffer from COVID and other illnesses. Prayers for Garrett and Sajan. May they open themselves to the resources available to them. May no harm come to them as they navigate mental health crises. Prayers for my sister Barbara, who died Tuesday. I pray for a passage and healing, free from the physical pain and from the free from the physical plane. Prayers for my health as I have a painful earache and need oral surgery. Prayers for J, Joy, S, and A. Blessings to passion and purpose. Blessings for my guides to come and remind me of my divinity, purpose, and rightness. Prayers for my health and well-being, that I may have spaciousness and health to meet my mother later this week, to support her and connect in love. Prayers for my mom, also having and believing she has all that needs as well. Prayers for my father, who is navigating the challenges of Parkinson's at the end of his life, and my mother, who has been in active struggle in his decline. Prayers for an easeful housing transition. Prayers for being able to listen and respond well at my new job. Prayers for those who are stuck in performance to be liberated. Prayers for all relatives to awaken to their liberation and stop living in fear. Prayers for all conflicts and despair in the world to stop and find peace and understanding and be healed. Prayers that I completely release all attachments to past lover, and prayers for Jay, whose cancer has recently returned. Prayers for the well-being of L, C, V, and J. Prayers for relief from the body pain and to understand the message it's trying to tell me. Prayer for my brother Patrick and his recovery from cancer and letting goal of human controls. Prayer I can help the families get something of value from their educational life and keep living my dream and my vision. Prayers for those folks living in war zones, and may they get all they need and find some peace. Prayers of gratitude for release of La Concordia. She's been in detention for a year for protesting the horrors of Gaza. May she have everything she needs to heal from this terrible experience. Prayers for myself that I can find a way through the grief of losing my friend Ricky, and that my nervous system can settle and heal. May all people losing loved ones in any and all situations be supported. Prayers of peace, love, light, and blessings for the world. Ashe. Prayers for all the mothers who lost children to police violence. Prayers for my cousin to find a safe home and heal from the hard times he's been going through. Prayers for me to be abundantly resourced by benefactors to bring awakened care to myself and support the liberation of all those around me. Prayers for continued confidence in my faith and consistency in my daily movement and gratitude practice. Prayers for myself as I move through the grief of these big life transitions and allow myself to be transformed and find the confidence. My prayers of gratitude for all people, places, and resources that are already available and waiting for me in Reverend Yolanda as I transition to my new living space. Asheo. Protect baby Elias in the NICU. May he heal and thrive. Prayers for clarity for my study and healing path. Prayers for Sterling and Sadie and her recovery from surgery. Prayers for V and her family in Iran. And prayers for my employment to stay as is and to be secure and supported. We continue to offer prayers for the complete liberation of all of us from systems of violence and harm, that we remember who and what we are as quickly as possible. May all beings remember their healing, their liberation. May we all awaken to what is possible, and may we bring about the new world as quickly as possible. May we all simply get free now. May it be so. We offer these prayers to our benefactors. May you bring about the fruition of all these prayers for ourselves, for our beloveds, for our community and collective. And may you teach us and show us how to bring about the fruition of these prayers now in our lives and for the benefit of others. May this all be so. And having released the energy of these prayers, we turn back just for a couple of moments to our mantra and returning back to the light, to the radiance. And in just the last few minutes of our mantra work, I invite you to imagine just that you're just radiating this light into the world. This light is also the consciousness of Medicine Buddha. So you're radiating this healing into the world, throughout the realms. You're radiating this healing into the spirit world, or the bardo. You're radiating this energy into any experience of hell that beings may be trying to survive in any realm. May all beings be healed and released through the radiance of our practice and with the support of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. May it be so. And we continue. Ot eanda begenze ma begenze ranzazumungare eanda begenze ma begenze ranzazumungare eanda So, just inviting you to take a deep inhale into the nose, holding for a moment, releasing that breath out of the mouth. As you release, feeling your body settle a little more into the seat, relaxing, opening, expanding, taking up space. One more time, inhaling through the nose, out of the mouth, expanding, relaxing, settling. One last time, inhaling into the nose, holding, releasing. So bringing attention back into the practice, to the lights, to the beings, the benefactors holding us in this radiance. We thank these benefactors and we invite them to return back to their places, returning our attention to this light. We imagine that we absorb or kind of pull this light deeper and deeper, or closer and closer back to our bodies, feeling this light collecting in our heart centers, but also feeling from our heart centers the soft radiance of this light creating a barrier, a shield around us. This barrier is our protection until we meet again. May we all experience the protection of all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas. May we experience the protection of the lands, of the fire, the waters, the air. May we awaken profound confidence and fierceness in our journey through this life, as we move through this moment of systemic collapse and apocalypse, war and violence. May we never forget the light, that we are the light. May this be so. And we snap. And when you snap, it is the finalizing, the wrapping up of the prayer. And everything is closed so that we may continue back into our lives. And so when you're ready, beginning to reawaken your body through some slow, simple movement. We will begin to turn our attention to Shantideva's prayer, which will be in the chat box. And we'll recite this 3 times. We begin. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for all those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring a further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. And just deep gratitude to all of you for your practice tonight. And after Eric makes his announcements, we'll just have a song to play us out.